You think of them and suddenly they text. You dream of each other, feel the same moods, laugh at old memories. Even strangers mention their name. It's not just coincidence, it's connection. Unspoken and visible, but real. And deep down, you both know it. You're on each other's mind right now. You're in the middle of something, maybe working, maybe just lying on your bed, lost in thought, and suddenly the urge to message them hits you. No specific reason, no dramatic trigger. You just feel like reaching out. So you pick up your phone, start typing, "Hey," and then buzz a message from them lights up your screen. It's not a reply. It's not a reaction. It's them reaching out to you at the exact same moment. You pause, smile, laugh even, because what are the chances? This kind of moment isn't rare when two people are energetically aligned. It's like your thoughts are moving on the same wavelength, invisibly synced without needing to speak a word. It doesn't happen with everyone. In fact, it's rare. But when it does, it catches you off guard in the best way. It feels electric, like there's some hidden wire connecting the two of you, stretching across time and space, whispering, "They're thinking about you too." These moments feel small on the surface, almost like a fluke. But when they start stacking up, when it happens once, then twice, then becomes a pattern, it becomes harder to ignore. And what makes it so powerful is the subtlety. You're not chasing them. They're not chasing you. You're just arriving at each other at the same time, consistently. It's like how a musician hits a perfect harmony without looking. No cues, just feeling. When someone's on your mind, it's usually because they hold emotional weight. But when they think of you at the same time, that's something deeper. It suggests they're moving through the same emotional beat you are. Maybe they're replaying the same conversation. Maybe they're scrolling through old photos too. Or maybe they just get that same weird, sudden feeling that you should be in their life right now. The science behind it, hard to prove. But emotionally, spiritually, intuitively, you feel it. And feelings, when mutual, don't lie. Sync timing doesn't always show up in messages either. Sometimes you run into them in places neither of you planned to be. You call just as they're about to hit dial. You bring up an old memory and they say, "Wait, I was just thinking about that." It's not just convenience, it's presence. You're both present in each other's lives, even when you're apart. What's wild is how natural it feels. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes quietly, like a thought you both share at the same time, silently pass back and forth across a space you can't quite name. You wake up disoriented. There was a dream, vivid, strange, and somehow familiar, and in it, they were there. Maybe you were talking, maybe just sitting in silence. Maybe it didn't even make sense, but the feeling lingered. That strange ache in your chest, that warmth that refuses to leave. You brush it off, only for them to bring it up the next day. "Hey, weird question. Were you in my dream last night?" And suddenly, that soft silence in your mind cracks open. There's something surreal about sharing dreams with someone you're emotionally connected to. It's not always literal. You might not have the exact same dream, but they show up in yours and you in theirs often around the same time. It's not something you plan, and it's definitely not something you control. It just happens quietly, repeatedly. In dreams, your subconscious is fully unfiltered. It doesn't need to pretend to guard or to stay silent. It simply reveals. And when someone appears there, not once but many times, it's usually because they've carved a space in your inner world that's too significant to ignore. They're living rent-free in your psyche, but in a way that feels more comforting than intrusive. The wild part, you don't always tell each other. Maybe you think it's too strange to mention. Maybe you brush it off as random. But when it does come up, when they say they dreamed about you too, it's like a soft secret being uncovered. Suddenly, it's not just your mind playing tricks. You're both visiting the same mental space, even if you don't remember every detail. Dreams often amplify what we suppress during the day, that conversation you never had, that moment you wanted to hold on to, the longing you buried under logic and distraction. And when those emotions surface at night, it's no surprise the same people show up again and again. They might not even say anything in the dream. Sometimes their presence alone is the message. There's a kind of quiet intimacy in shared dreams that doesn't exist in waking life. No social cues, no timing issues, no distance, just the two of you floating in the same invisible place at the same time. It blurs the line between emotional connection and something deeper, something that doesn't need words to be understood. And even if the dreams fade, even if the details slip away like smoke by morning, the feeling remains. That strange comfort, that uncanny synchronicity. You can't quite explain it, but you don't need to. Because somewhere in a space where logic doesn't rule, the two of you keep finding each other again and again. You're going about your day, not really thinking of anyone in particular, when suddenly they pop into your mind, clear, vivid, uninvited. It's not nostalgia. It's not triggered by a photo or a memory. It just happens. One minute you're focused, the next you're lost in the thought of them. You pause, wondering where that came from. A few hours later, your phone lights up. It's them. No context, just, hey, I was thinking about you. It catches you off guard every time, that strange pull in your chest like a quiet knock on the door of your attention. It's not anxiety. It's not hope. It's just presence. A soft, persistent nudge from somewhere deep within. You try to explain it, but you can't. It doesn't follow logic. It's not something you planned or chose. It's a feeling, and it's strong. What makes these moments powerful is how subtle they are. You don't even realize what's happening until after the fact. That feeling, that hunch, that sudden emotional shift, it doesn't ask for your permission. It just shows up. And it's almost always tied to them. You might feel a wave of calm or a strange heaviness. You might feel like you're supposed to reach out, even if there's no real reason to. But when you listen to it, something always connects. The truth is, gut feelings are often the voice of the subconscious. That part of you that picks up on energy, timing, emotional cues you can't quite articulate. And when you're emotionally connected to someone, especially in a way that's mutual, but unspoken, your intuition becomes sensitive to them. You can feel when they're thinking of you, when they're missing you, when they're about to show up in your life again. Sometimes the feeling hits you in the middle of the night. You wake up and your heart is racing, like it knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Other times it comes during moments of stillness when you're driving, walking, or just staring out the window. That's when it's the loudest, because that's when you're most honest with yourself. What makes it even more unexplainable is how often these feelings are confirmed. You feel them, and then they call. You write a message and pause, and then they send you one first. You think about something they once said, and later they bring it up again, as if your thoughts were quietly speaking to each other across a distance. You don't need science to tell you it's real. You just know, in your body, in your breath, in the way you stop everything when their name crosses your mind. It's not obsession. It's not overthinking. It's connection, a kind of unseen thread pulling you both toward the same moment without explanation, without warning, without needing proof. You're casually scrolling through your feed, not expecting much, when you notice their name in your notifications. Maybe they liked a photo from months ago. Maybe they reacted to a story within seconds of you posting it. Or maybe they didn't interact at all, but somehow they showed up in your suggested friends, your explore page, your memories. It's subtle, easy to ignore, but it lands a little heavier when it's them. Social media makes it easy to hide intentions behind casual actions, but it also reveals things people don't say out loud. When someone's thinking about you, it's often through these quiet digital footprints. Liking an old post isn't just random. It means they were on your page, scrolling, watching your story within seconds. That's not just luck. That's awareness. It's attention. And attention is never meaningless, especially when it's from someone you feel connected to. These clues aren't always direct. Sometimes it's that they suddenly follow people close to you, or they post something that feels strangely familiar, an inside joke, a song you once shared, a photo from a place you both loved. It feels like a signal, a soft knock on the door of your awareness. They won't say it, but the message is there. I'm still watching. I still notice you. And it goes both ways. You might find yourself doing the same, hovering over their stories, debating whether to like that photo, wondering if they'll notice you noticed. You don't want to be obvious, but you still want to stay visible. Just enough. Just in case they're thinking the same thing. What's wild is how often this digital dance reflects real emotions. You're not talking. Maybe you haven't in weeks. But the rhythm is still there. The presence is still felt. Social media becomes the quiet hallway where you both keep passing by, pretending not to look, but always noticing when the other is there. And when the timing overlaps, when they post something that mirrors your mood, or you both go quiet at the same time, it starts to feel like more than coincidence. It starts to feel like you're still in sync, even if you're not in touch, even if it's unspoken. Sometimes they won't like anything at all. They'll just watch from a distance, never engaging, but always there. And somehow that silence speaks louder than 1,000 comments, because you feel it, you sense it, their attention, their curiosity, maybe even their hesitation. It's not about obsessing over likes or views. It's about recognizing that when someone still has a piece of your heart, they often leave traces in the places where your lives still overlap. Not through grand gestures, but through subtle clues, quiet, almost invisible signs that say, I'm still here, and I still wonder if you are too. In a world of curated feeds and filtered moments, these small signals matter. They're proof that even when people don't say what they feel, they sometimes still show it one scroll, one click, one quiet moment at a time. You're having a rough day, the kind where everything feels a little heavier, a little off. You haven't told anyone. You haven't posted about it. You've barely said a word, but then your phone buzzes and it's them. A simple message, hey, you okay? No context, no reason, just perfectly timed concern. It doesn't make sense, but it hits deep. There's something powerful about the invisible emotional current that runs between two people who are connected, even from afar. You feel low and somehow they feel it too. They reach out, call, or check in without being prompted. Other times it's reversed. You feel this weird unease out of nowhere, like something's pulling at you, and later find out they were going through something heavy. It's more than empathy. It's energetic. A mutual shift you both experience without ever saying a word. You don't plan it. You don't talk about it in advance. But your emotional states seem to mirror each other. You feel light, they seem to glow. You hit a slump, they withdraw. It's subtle but undeniable. There's a shared rhythm underneath your day-to-day lives, like you're tuned into the same frequency, even when you're not in the same room or even the same city. This connection can feel confusing. You wonder if you're just imagining things, if maybe you're reading too much into timing, but it happens too often to be ignored. You start noticing it's not just mood, it's energy. You think about them intensely and somehow they reach out. You feel an emotional shift in your chest, and hours later, they post something that echoes your own inner experience. It's like there's a thread between you that tugs whenever one of you moves. Sometimes this energy shows up in the silence. They go quiet. So do you. No fight, no fallout, just a mutual pause. And yet, in that stillness, it's as if you're both waiting, breathing, recalibrating. You sense they need space, and you give it. They sense you're struggling, and they offer a little light. No need to explain it. You just respond to the shift like instinct. Other times, the energy pulls you closer. You both get a burst of motivation to reconnect at the exact same moment. One message turns into hours of talking. The words feel easy again. The space feels softer. And neither of you say it out loud, but deep down, you both know something realigned. Something clicked back into place. This kind of mutual energy isn't always loud or obvious. It doesn't demand attention, but it's constantly working in the background. It's the way you just know when something's up. The way they seem to sense your silence isn't distance, it's weight. And somehow they always reach in just before it gets too heavy. It's a reminder that real connection doesn't always need conversation. Sometimes it's felt, passed silently between two hearts that, for whatever reason, are still deeply in tune. You're mid-conversation with someone else when a random phrase or memory pops into your head, and instantly it reminds you of them. That ridiculous inside joke the two of you came up with, the one that no one else would understand. It doesn't even make sense out of context, but just thinking about it makes you laugh under your breath. And as if on cue, later that day, they send a message. Remember when we, followed by that exact same joke. No setup, no warning, just perfect, absurd timing. It's a strange thing how humor creates a kind of emotional shorthand between two people. Inside jokes aren't just funny moments, they're coded reminders of closeness. They're small, shared pieces of time that only you two hold. When they resurface unprovoked and unplanned, it's not just nostalgia. It's a sign that you're still living in the same corner of each other's minds. These moments don't always need words. Sometimes it's a single emoji, a weird reference, a nickname no one else knows. And the meaning is instant. A full memory compressed into a 1-second message. That's the magic of a real connection. It creates a language only the two of you speak. And even after time or distance, that language doesn't fade. It just waits. What makes it more powerful is when these jokes resurface simultaneously. You might find yourself humming a tune you both made fun of, or saying a line from a movie you watched together, only to see them post about it hours later. It's subtle but surreal, like your memories are synced, like your humor is still happening in parallel, even when you're not sharing the moment physically. And sometimes when things feel uncertain between you, maybe you haven't spoken in a while, maybe life got in the way, those little jokes come back like gentle taps on the shoulder. Not too bold, not too heavy, just a soft way of saying, hey, remember us? It's not about dragging the past forward. It's about acknowledging that it still exists in both of you. That the version of yourselves who laughed uncontrollably at something ridiculous is still alive somewhere inside. Inside jokes are proof that joy was once shared freely. They're emotional bookmarks from a time when everything felt light, connected, and real. And when they resurface, it's often because your hearts are reaching back toward that feeling intentionally or not. Maybe you miss it. Maybe they do too. Or maybe some part of both of you never let go of what that laughter meant. These small, silly moments don't always lead to long conversations or grand reconnections, but they spark something, a smile, a pause, a reminder that you shared something rare, a rhythm of humor, timing, and understanding that doesn't come around often. And even if things have changed, the joke still lives. The connection still flickers. Because when someone can still make you laugh from miles away without even trying, that's not nothing. That's a sign. You're deep in your day, not thinking about them, at least not consciously, when someone suddenly brings up their name. It could be a friend, a coworker, even a stranger who doesn't know your story. It catches you off guard, stops you mid-thought. They're not supposed to be part of this moment, but somehow they appear. And suddenly, they're not just in your head, they're in your world again. It's always subtle. A passing comment. Someone says they saw them recently, mentions a place they both love, or repeats something that sounds exactly like what they used to say. You weren't reaching for the memory, but it found you anyway. And that's the strange part, how the world seems to echo their presence when you least expect it, like a gentle reminder that they're still lingering in the background, even when you try to move forward. These moments can feel like nothing, just coincidence. But they tend to show up at very specific times when you're thinking about them a little more than usual or trying not to at all. You hear their name in a song lyric in a story someone's telling, or during a completely unrelated conversation, and suddenly your chest tightens, your mind rewinds, not because you want it to, but because their name still holds weight, still has gravity. Sometimes people bring them up in the most random ways. You know who I ran into the other day, or you still talk to them, you weren't prepared for it, but the moment hits like a pulse. It makes you wonder why now. Why this person at this moment, talking about someone you've tried so hard not to think about. It's as if the universe keeps sliding them into your peripheral vision just to see how you'll react. Maybe it's trying to tell you something. Or maybe it's just reflecting what you already know, that you're still connected, that no matter how much time passes, their presence still weaves itself into the fabric of your life in quiet, unexpected ways. And it's not just their name, it's their energy. Someone laughs like them, says a phrase they used to say, walks past you wearing the same cologne. The resemblance doesn't need to be exact, just enough to trigger that internal shift, that sense of familiarity, that emotional flashback, that silent acknowledgement of what used to be. What makes this even more curious is when it happens repeatedly. Once you can write it off. Twice maybe coincidence. But when it keeps happening, different people, different settings, same name, same memory, it starts to feel like something more. Like they're not just showing up in your thoughts. They're showing up in the world around you too. And each time it leaves you with the same feeling. A quiet wonder if somewhere out there they're getting reminders too. If their name is slipping into conversations they weren't expecting. If strangers are saying your name back to them. Because sometimes the world doesn't whisper without a reason. Sometimes it reflects what two hearts are already quietly feeling. There are days when your mood shifts suddenly without explanation. You wake up feeling off, low energy, unsettled, quiet, even though everything in your life seems fine. You try to shake it off, but it lingers. and then later that day they post something heavy, a caption, a song lyric, a quiet silence in their online presence. That's when it clicks. The feeling you couldn't name earlier wasn't yours alone. When two people are deeply connected, emotionally or energetically, their moods can start to mirror each other often without either of them realizing it in the moment. You pick up on their joy without seeing their smile. You feel their sadness without hearing their voice. It's not telepathy. It's not magic. It's a resonance like two strings on different instruments vibrating at the same frequency. One moves, the other reacts. This kind of emotional syncing can feel surreal. You're having a great day, but something in you dims, softens, pauses, and then you find out they had a rough one. Or maybe you suddenly feel lifted, energized, inspired, and just hours later, they reach out, sounding lighter than they have in days. It keeps happening. You feel their shifts, even from a distance. You may not talk every day. Maybe you don't talk at all anymore. But somehow you still feel when their emotional weather changes. It's not always obvious. It might show up in small ways: restlessness, a need for comfort, a sudden urge to send a message you don't fully understand. And when they respond with a "how did you know?" you realize it wasn't just a feeling, it was connection. It's not about absorbing each other's moods out of habit or codependence. It's something subtler than that, like an echo across distance. You don't need to speak to be affected. Their emotional highs hit you like warmth through glass. Their lows settle over you like cloud cover. You sense it, without words, without explanation. Sometimes it makes you feel seen in ways no conversation ever could. You're feeling something heavy and they check in without knowing why. Or you're withdrawn and they withdraw too, not out of disinterest, but out of reflection. You mirror each other not because you try, but because you're tuned to the same frequency. And the wildest part, even when you both try to move on, the mirroring doesn't always stop. You might go days, weeks, months without speaking, and still, your moods ripple through each other's lives like quiet waves. A heaviness you can't name, a spark that feels familiar, a silence that feels shared. This emotional reflection isn't something you can fake or manufacture. It's just there. An invisible tether between two people who, for reasons neither of them can fully explain, still feel each other, still react, still reflect, still respond, even in the quiet, even in the distance, even when nothing is said at all. In the end, these subtle signs, whether it's a gut feeling, a shared dream, a quiet social media moment, or a sudden shift in mood, remind us of the depth of human connection. They show that even when we're apart, we're never truly separate. Our hearts, minds, and energies often resonate with each other, reflecting back pieces of ourselves we might not even be aware of. These signs are not random. They are the universe's way of telling us that there is something real, something meaningful that ties us together, even when we don't see it. So the next time you feel the pull, the synchronicity, or the warmth of a memory resurfacing, trust it. It's not coincidence. It's a reminder that no matter where we are, we're all still deeply connected.